You the human, the son of Sparta who challenges the darkness for this.
Block off, Featherface, or you can stick around and find out the hard way.
The Devil May Cry video game series is something of a mystery to me. The first game, released in 2001, wow, that is old, was originally part of a series of prototypes developed during the initial phases of coming up with Resident Evil 4.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
This can still be seen as many locations of Mollett Island bear striking resemblance to a classic Resident Evil mansion. Same can be said for the castle, another prototype. The Stalker horror game Hunting Ground takes place.
Hey, it's that dog.
Right off the bat, protagonist Dante, a cool white-haired demon hunter with a habit of getting impaled,
Oh gosh, right through his man flesh.
turned out to be an instant classic and recognizable character for the franchise altogether. Even in the first draft, the game combined action combat with guns and swords with elements of exploration and puzzles. Most important, the game rated how well you did in combat with a star meter. Chaining up combo hits and dodging enemies let you rank up, while doing the same moves over and over or taking damage will deplete the same meter. This encourages the player to try all combat options and to study your opponent's patterns for maximal offense.
Give it up, baby. I've studied all your moves.
Yeah, study this!
Sadly, Capcom dropped the ball with its direct sequel, DMC2. I never played it myself prior to this video, so I streamed it over on Twitch, and honestly, just skip it. The whole game only has two positives: Dante's cool new design, literally the coolest he ever looked, and Lucia. The game is ugly, boring, and the guns are not balanced. Dante somehow lost most of his quirky charm. The best game featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry 2 game stays Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. Probably forever. It didn't take long for the legendary demon hunter to find his groove again, returning in Devil May Cry 3, Dante's Awakening, delivering one of the best games of all time and defining the character action genre as a whole. Dante's twin brother Virgil takes the role of the Blue Oni to Dante's Red, and wow, does the power-craving sibling deliver. Sheer endless combo potential, all-time classic boss battles, one-liners, and state-of-the-art action cutscenes make this the pinnacle of the franchise. I replay it every couple of years and there's no end in sight. Buy it, play it, love it. The fourth game succeeded in keeping up the high standard, while introducing a new second protagonist in the young Nero, who with the use of his Devilbringer creates a new and unique combat approach. The future looked bright, were it not for the baddest word in the industry, sales expectations. DMC4 sold a staggering 5.2 million copies, a tremendous success for such a specific gameplay style and world. But as always, for the parasitic lifeforms known as shareholders and CEOs, that wasn't enough. Sales were good, yeah, but they weren't Monster Hunter or Resident Evil numbers, and certainly not Call of Duty numbers, the holy grail during that time. So instead of trusting Itsuno's team with a sequel, the solution the decision makers came up with was to westernize the franchise, hiring Heavenly Sword developers Ninja Theory to create the 2013 reboot, DMC Devil May Cry. Now, I made a whole video about DMC and why I think Ninja Theory did a pretty good job with the task, so check it out. To say the player base was divided on this new Dante, however, is a big understatement.
Not in a million years.
Besides favorable reviews, the sales number didn't pick up. For all the cultured Japanese action aficionados, after years of hoping, begging and speculating, the wait had finally an end. At Microsoft press conference of E3 2018, Itsune himself announced that Devil May Cry is back, baby. Back to exceed expectations.
As director, I wait for years for this. Thank you so much. DMC is back!
In 2019, Nero, the legendary demon hunter Dante, and the mysterious V awaken to the call of justice. Once again, bring the fight to the never-ending hordes of hell. Have to say, I was pretty excited to replay this one. I played through DMC 3 and 4 a combined number of like 35 times on different difficulties, but I only beat 5 once, which is practically nothing at all. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't absolutely in love. I really don't know why, but I just had some problems with it. First things first though. 5 made the right call to switch the engine, using the RE engine, used in the visually super impressive Resident Evil remakes. Probably my favorite development tool when it comes to lighting and particle effects, elevating the action as things really pop out while still staying smooth and pleasing to look at. Comboing devils into oblivion never felt and looked better. Options with Dante and Nero are absolutely off the charge, deep and satisfying systems for starters and slaying masters alike.
Come on, baby. Come get me.
All of this is great, but now I'm gonna finally talk about the things I don't like, and I really didn't change my mind about these. Story was never a big deal, and not that important to the franchise anyway. There's a super evil bad guy, and he has a demon army you have to go through. Still, in this, it was extra stupid. Spoilers ahead, guys. V, who came to Dante to ask for help against the super demon Urizen, is actually virtual. I know, mind-blowing stuff. To be fair, V and Urizen are both virtual. He split himself in a good human side and a power-hungry demon part. Now this groundless king tries to collect human blood to make the Quailof tree grow and take its root of power for himself. The problem here is that the game goes for the old circle of violence between the brothers, again, and even really just asks the old, if the situation was switched, if we stood in each other's shoes, would it be the same? In 3, Virtual only got Dante to go to his demon tower to get his amulet in order to get the true power of hell, and DMC 5, Urizen is just irredeemable evil. He literally brings the armies of hell to Earth to slaughter humans on Mars for their blood. There can't be two minds about Virtual's role in there. He chose to split and caused that. Irredeemable, as I said. So when Nero slaps Dante and just lets his dad go, well, that just doesn't quite add up, bro. V is the only new character. and despite bringing a new style, combat options and overall enjoyable poetic characteristics, I don't like playing as him. If you use fighting game terms, V is what you call a puppet character. He doesn't fight himself, other than delivering the finishing blow. He summons demons to fight for him. Even there, the development team, in a nice touch, gave him 3 demons, Griffin, Shadow and Nightmare, that were all boss enemies in the very first game. A1 is used in a different aspect in fighting, and you use all 3 at the same time. You maybe ask yourself, but that seems fun and unique, what problem do you have with that? I'll tell you, it's pretty boring most of the time. To explain my frustration, I'll have to name a game I would have never guessed I have to name drop in a Devil May Cry game review.
The wheel of fate is turning! Rebel 1!
BlazBlue. In this fighting game series, there's something of, let's call it a estranged father-son duo. Carl and Release Glover. Both are what you would call puppet characters, meaning when you pick one of them, you not only control them in combat, but also their mechanical sister or mother. Yeah, ignore it as well. Now here's what I was actually getting to. When you fight as Carl, much like we, you control both characters simultaneously, which feels really clunky and restrictive. Play as his dashing dad, however, and you learn that his puppet is an extension of his own moveset, so you control him and follow up with your special robot wife attacks. V would be much more fun to me if that was the case, instead of just standing around until a demon glows. One point that personally hurts me is that the boss fights, for the most part, aren't that imaginative or good. The game has 13 unique boss fights. Well, kinda. The spike, a health bar, wheel of roots really aren't so much a boss fight, and more a showcase that some enemies may have a lot of health. You fight sitting Yurisen 3 times, which is pretty boring, as most of the time you just hit his crystal, plus you are meant to lose this fight. Or the cutscene does it for you. Mission 17 Yurisen, however, is a completely different story, and fighting a kickboxing tentacle demon king rules, so it's a 50-50. Take out Nidhogg and Elder Garian Knight, as they are V only and you just stand there while getting SSS ranks. Also forget about Shadow, Griffin and Nightmare, not a really assigned boss. Oh, and Gilgamesh and Artemis also suck. By my calculation, that leaves you with 5 to 6 great boss fights, depending if you want to count virtual, as fighting him will forever be cool, but not truly original. The award for the best boss fight surely has to go to Cavalier Angelo. The first fight and on higher difficulty will kick your ass, believe me. The idea here is that you constantly search the attack, clash with his attacks, and close the distance. All the while the party effects go crazy, and the best boss track in the game dynamically blasts out of the audio device of your choice. Speaking of music, let's talk about the OST. I don't know how they simultaneously create the best and worst soundtrack of the whole series. The original character combat themes each follow a different genre and style to further distinguish the 3 characters. Double Trigger is a pop-punk anthem that, much like Nero, is in your face and loud. Crimson Cloud is a droning beat building up to screaming high points like V's demons and finishing moves. Even Subhuman, despite being the weakest, has its point in describing Dante's overwhelming power and arsenal. Still, I think having the DMC composer make a song for him would have been the better choice. Yeah, Bury the Light is not just the best song of the game, it's also one of the coolest songs in gaming. Virtual Theme is an orchestral trip with unbelievable bridges and crescendos while incorporating virtual story in a really cool, super edgy way. I'm the Storm that is approaching is not only a catchphrase but also the feeling you get when you play as the Darkslayer himself. Released in the now usual special edition or as a standalone DLC, playable Virtual feels like a cheat code. His fast, devastating moves clear rooms effortlessly and barely anything stands any chance before your might. pure fun to play as him, using each of his merciless attacks in sequence to fill up his personal concentration meter to finally put an end to things. Downloadable content is another thing I'd like to talk about, however. I really don't know why, with the sheer number of vocal tracks in the catalog, they decided to couple a few of the more iconic ones with special pre-order editions or paid downloads, instead of unlocking them through, playing the game. And with that I actually want to say I know 100% why. Despite having flashed out movesets, in 4 Special Edition, Trish and Lady are not playable. Truly a missed opportunity to bring them back together with Tooth Lucia in a goal-centric DLC campaign if you ask me. 5 alone is a complete game, but without Virgil, people want the Special Edition, even though the rest are only graphical updates that really aren't that big, and a mode that in my mind is only fun for 30 minutes due to its chaotic nature. For this video I only bought Virtual. Bloody Palace was added for free after launch, and going through it is as much fun as ever, so I can't fault it, even though it didn't really evolve since DMC3. Yes, I know the first one was too, but don't talk to me about that. Wow, the original idea of these replay videos was to have some shorter content between the bigger reviews, to have an excuse to go through newer cool games without going in depth. Well, I managed to ramble about DMC5 for quite some time. It is one of my favorite series after all. I'm not as negative about DMC as most people, so I don't think 5 is the savior some made it out to be. As any game in the franchise, it has its flaws. However, you can tell that the hype and love of the devs outweigh any negativity by miles. For my part, I'm extremely interested where this open love letter leaves the franchise as a whole. A true passing of the torch? Or, if I could make a suggestion, Capcom could take some inspiration from another wisecracking hero